So gaming. We all do it. I certainly did last year. I played quite a lot of games, actually. But anyway, yeah, so I played quite a bit of games last year. 99% of them didn't even come out in 2024. That's usually my thing. I usually just play games from the past all the time, with some exceptions here and there with on-year release stuff. I think the only 2024 game I played last year was Berserk Boy, which was a neat little indie game that's kind of like a Mega Man-ish game, and it was really fun, but I wouldn't put it in the top 10. But yeah, so let's go ahead and get this ranking started. Some exceptions will be DLC and expansions that are not standalone. I just don't really think those are their own separate games, so I'm not going to be putting them on the list. And games that I've replayed, I will not put in the ranking, but I'll give them a shout out in the honorable mentions, because it's because it just wouldn't give the games that I did try for the first time and beat, that are new to me, that would have a chance to make it to the list, and they get knocked off by the replayed games. I feel like that just wouldn't be fair. So, alright, that's it. I'm also going to do like a top worst games video after this, so look forward to that. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get started with my top 10 games of 2024. Okay, number 10 is very conflicting for me because it's Pikmin 2 HD for the Switch. Now, why is it conflicting? Because if I haven't made it apparent on my channel, Pikmin 2 is basically my favorite game of all time, so wouldn't it be an easy number one spot for this HD version that's fully convenient portably on the Switch, which looks very nice on the OLED, by the way. The colors would have been an easy top spot because of the convenience. Well, it would be if the porting job and some of the changes didn't happen. Now, I feel like it wasn't as big of an improvement as I wanted it to be because it actually is held back by a lot of elements that maybe just not be able to push it any higher than 10th place. For example, some of the issue, I can go on and on about this, by the way, which I can probably at some point do a whole video about at some point, but I'll try to keep it short here for now. So basically, some of my issues is that I feel like they could have done the extra effort for the up-resing stuff. Like some of the textures, models, the UI, they all look very great, upscaled. And in HD, the upscaled cutscenes, while done in AI, they did a pretty exceptional job. It's probably my favorite thing about this whole port. Big issue is that you can't skip much of the cutscenes anymore, which is really weird. A lot of the altered text, a lot of the text were like changed or cut, which kind of just takes away a bit of the charm. And of course, the product placement was a big issue for me being replaced, which I know is a nitpick to a lot of people, but to me it was kind of an immersion breaker, one of the biggest reasons why I love the game. Again, I can go on and on, but pretty much too long to read is that I feel like this version kind of gimped the lore immersion and soul for me a little bit, but it's still Pikmin 2, my favorite game, and it's still very convenient, so I will still give it the benefit of the doubt, and it's still number 10 for me. Alright, number 9, I wish I could have this one higher, but it's just that everything above it was just that good. But this one is still a masterpiece all the same. It's Buckshot Roulette. It is, yes, it's sadly the only indie game on the list this year, on 2024, but hey, it's still phenomenal. So basically you play as this person that goes into this underground place to do like a game of buckshot, of like Russian roulette. And instead of like the usual revolver and stuff, you use a shotgun between you and the dealer. The dealer is it's like really mysterious, creepy looking guy with like a floating head with hands and has like a big cigar. I love the aesthetics of this game, the way that it's all like moody. I love the grainy look, the textures. It really immerses me. And when I first played it, my brother recommended it to me. He's like, hey, you should totally play this. It's like making the rounds, and it seems pretty intriguing. And I was like, no idea what it was. And I hadn't felt terror like that in quite a while. Like, I actually unironically was quite freaked out by this game when I was first playing through it. just the tone and the way that the game just like falls dead silent before a shot is made, whether it's a blank or it's the actual shot. It's just it was weirding me out, and the more you went into the game, the more serious the rounds got. When you got to the last round, it's like all or nothing type of thing, and it's like really intense. I love the feeling that this game gives you. But after I played it through it a couple of more times, and the feeling wears off, which is kind of where I'm like, you know, like it's one of those you just have to experience it for the first time again, and that does kind of hurt it. But it does have like an endless mode. I think it's got like double or nothing, you know, that kind of gambling thing where you keep on going, doubling, or you quit, and you can keep trying to get a high score as much as possible by going infinite rounds. But it's not just you guys taking rounds with a shotgun, because that would get kind of dull. It has like items, which actually is where the big charm of this game comes. Like you can have items where you're able to chain, you know, use like handcuffs to skip your opponent's turn, and you're able to use like a magnifying glass to see what the next bullet's gonna be, or you know, that kind of stuff. It's very intriguing. The items bring a good twist to it. But yeah, I highly recommend this game. It's very cheap. It's like a couple dollars on Steam and on the I forgot what it was called. It's on some other platforms as well. But yeah, it's a very cheap indie game, very fun, very playable, and it's even in I think it's out by now, but it was one of the updates that it's gonna add multiplayer, and that was a big I feel like it not coming with multiplayer in the beginning was kind of a loss. I probably will place it higher once all that content rolls in, because it's adding more items, more options, more modes, and I feel like it's gonna make it a more robust experience, because it does kind of get dull after a while, but I still think masterclass in the game. It's so good. And number 8 we have Super Castlevania 4. This game was such a treat. I played it during Spooktober. Like I usually do in October, I play a bunch of, you know, spook-centric games, and you know, Castlevania falls under that. And I decided to finally give Super Castlevania 4, Castlevania Bloodlines, all these, like a couple of Castlevania games a try, and yeah, 4 was just phenomenal. It delivered. I always heard the best things about this Castlevania game, it being like the pinnacle of Classicvania. Like it's Simon Belmont, has 8 directional, you know, whip action, and I gotta say, it feels awesome. Like the amount of control Simon has is so great in this game, with like the combat and the movement. The stages are so beautiful, the music is so good, the bosses are fun and solid. I will say the one thing that kind of knocks it down a peg when it comes to the next entry coming up is the Dracula fight. I felt like the next entry kind of does the final boss fight a little better, and it just being Simon Belmont does kind of limit it a bit. But I gotta say, the effects with the FX chip in like that one certain place where like the stage is like in this cylinder and it rotates, it's so pretty. Like a lot of the effects in this game are just really cool. I absolutely love this game, and I get the hype with Super Castlevania 4 now. It is definitely one of the peaks of Classicvania, and definitely Simon Belmont's best game. And at number 7 we have Castlevania Bloodlines. And if you kind of heard in the section with Castlevania 4, I kind of hinted at the reason why I kind of placed this game higher. One of the reasons is because I feel like this game just did the Dracula fight better. I think it has an interesting idea for a death fight. Like you do like this kind of, it's interesting because this game feels very much like Gunstar Heroes, in the way that Sega at the time really had like this weird effect with the games and the models and joints and stuff. And even one of the bosses, like this weird mechanical thing. Yeah, the bosses I think are better. I actually like the bosses in this game better. Like they're a little more interesting, a bit more wacky, with like that mechanical boss that reminds me of a Gunstar Heroes boss. The death, which has that Gunstar Heroes section where it's kind of like a roulette that you have to roll through, and you fight different boss fights because of that, and then you fight death at the end. It's very reminiscent of it's so weird. But that it reminds me of Gunstar Heroes. But very interesting fight. And then the Dracula fight, that you fight like an interesting new vampire woman, mistress, which was really interesting. Her powers are interesting and actually kind of nerve-wracking. And then the Dracula fight, of course, has like 3 whole phases, and it's just really cool. Like, I think this game is a bit of a step up from Super Castlevania 4 because of those reasons. I love the Genesis sound, font, and music as well. I think the stages are also really cool, especially like the first area of Dracula's castle where it's like the screens are like split into 3 in like a mirror kind of thing. And it's such a cool effect. And of course, you being able to play as 2 characters as well is really cool. John Morris and his friend Eric Lacard. These two have such interesting playstyles. John's able to do more of like a bit of the diagonal whips, while Eric is able to do like the up and down with his spear thrust, and is able to jump into higher places with like kind of like the crouch jump in Super Mario Bros. 2 USA, kind of like that. So it lets you explore the levels in different ways with both characters and gives you 2 different playstyles. So they may be a little more limited than Simon in 4, but I think 2 distinct characters having their 2 distinct playstyles, I think elevates it above 4 slightly more. And it kind of makes me like, I played through the game twice on normal and on expert, to play as both of them, and it's just really cool. At number 6, we have Super Monkey Ball 2. This is a bit of a cop-out pick because, it's one of my childhood games, but I just never actually managed to beat the story mode as a kid. It just got way too hard. I remember the farthest I got were just those last couple of levels in the bathhouse level, like where, the evil monkey guy was like in the bathhouse, and whatever, the story's weird. I love it for how weird it is, but it's so weird. But yeah, I wasn't able to beat the story mode as a kid, and I got pretty far. But yeah, finally last year sat down, I played through the whole story mode. I finally did it, and it felt so satisfying, and I'm like, oh, I love this game to death. It is literally one of Sega's best. Like, it's one of my favorite Sega games. AV Amusement Vision, you guys really knocked it out of the park. It's my favorite Monkey Ball game. Now, I know a lot tend to prefer the first game for its more arcadey stuff that it offers, but I don't know, I like the story mode in the second game. I like all the extra modes and mini games you get in the second game, and it still has some nice challenge levels for you to do. Like, I think it's just a really solid follow-up in every way to the first Monkey Ball game. I can't wait to try out that Banana Rumble game. I'm gonna probably try it out this year for sure. And number 5, we have Devil May Cry 3 Special Edition. I specifically played the PlayStation 2 Greatest Hits version, which does a couple of changes and additions and tweaks to the original. Oh my goodness. Now, I had slowly been playing through the Devil May Cry games the past year or so. Like, last year I played 1 and 2. No, not last year, I'm sorry. 2023 I played through 1 and 2, and I thought they were okay. The first game was amazing. Like, I was already drawn in. I'm like, oh, I really like this. But then the second one, yeah, the people were right. It was bad. It's not absolutely terrible as some make it out to be. There are some positives in it, so I thought it was only like bad. But then this third game absolutely blew everything out of the water. Like the story was super interesting. It's like more of an origin story with Dante and how he came to inherit his heritage and destiny, finding his true self. Virgil, oh my god, I love Virgil, man. Like, I know I like, there's so much hype with this character, and yeah, automatically I think he's one of my favorite Capcom characters straight down. Like, he was so interesting. His fights with Dante was just jaw-dropping. Like, I was having so much fun with this cast of characters. The combat is refined even further. I still am not 100% with the mission system. If they had ditched that, I probably would have bumped it up higher in this list, but I don't know. It kind of works because all you're doing is climbing a tower, so I can kind of excuse it in this game. But yeah, it's just, oh my god, it's just a complete joyride from beginning to end. It's difficult. I literally played it on normal, and I was sweating bullets by the time I was at the end of the game. Like, it took me probably like an hour or so to like beat the final boss. It's really hard, but oh my god, it's gotta be one of my favorite Capcom games straight up. At number 4, we have Super Mario World. Now, I specifically played a ROM hack of it with my brother. We played co-op, and it just does like a couple of tweaks here and there, but it's still largely almost like the vanilla game, but just with some tweaks. But yeah, I actually, despite growing up with the game, like I had the GBA version of the game, I never really managed to beat the game. Like I think I got as far as past the Forest of Illusion, but after that I was never able to beat it. Um but yeah, I finally did it with my brother. We did, took turns doing the two-player, and by the way, the two-player really elevates this game. I probably would have put this underneath DMC3 if it wasn't for me playing it with my brother, because it like elevates the experience so much more playing with someone. That's just the magic of Mario. I don't know. I also just aesthetically and like color wise just like Mario World more, and so I put it a step above. It's just a really fun game. It's not my favorite 2D Mario. I think that still goes to Mario Bros 3, but like I don't know, this is really solid, and I completely get it now, like finally beating it for the first time last year. It's actually the first game I beat in 2024, so it was a fantastic way to start off that year with this game. But yeah, it's really fun. I love the Bowser fight. Like it does a lot of things better than Mario Bros 3, like the secrets. I think some of the theming of the levels, um the Bowser fight is better. I still kind of prefer Mario Bros 3, but yeah, it's both masterpieces. I had a good time with Super Mario World. And at number 3 we have Pikmin 1 HD. Never did I think I would ever put 1 over 2. This is because, like I said back in the section with Pikmin 2 HD, like it's my favorite game. So why in the world do I have Pikmin 1 HD so much higher? Well, because I kind of explained it already in the 2 HD section, but pretty much I feel like this version of the game, despite being kind of lackluster in the graphic department in the remastering, it does do a decent job at it. For the price, you get what you get. It's like 25-30 bucks depending on which version you get or which release you get, whether it's digital or physical. But hey, it actually tweaks the gameplay. It tweaks the AI of the Pikmin, of yourself, with your throwing becomes faster, the Pikmin following you are faster, the call to attention is faster. Like it just makes the experience much quicker and seamless, and it actually increases the fun factor. So I think it's genuinely an improvement over the Wii and GameCube originals. Like I would say this is definitely the ideal way officially to play, the first game, because of those gameplay tweaks. Sure, the pathfinding is still kind of dookie because that's just because it's like the first game, it's whatever. I can forgive it for that, for being the first game. Like I still have 2 and 4 maybe above it, but like I don't know, like I think this HD version on the Switch is the better of the two because it doesn't gimp anything, but it only improves upon the gameplay. But yeah, I would recommend. There are unofficial, versions of the game like Pikmin Squared that are better than this 1 HD release, but like officially, I would recommend this as like the definitive way to play Pikmin 1 for sure. Number 2 is F-Zero GX. Now, I actually had this below Pikmin 1 HD for quite a while, but thinking back on it, it's just Pikmin 1 HD just did not give me the level of dopamine, excitement, and joy that this game just gives me when I played it. Now again, this one is also kind of a cop-out like Monkey Ball 2 because it's a childhood game of mine that I did pour a ton of time into back then, but again, as a kid, I just was never able to beat the story mode. Same deal. And funny enough, it's by the same team, Amusement Vision, so it kind of makes sense. These games are really hard. So yeah, as a kid I was never able to do it, but I finally did it last year. I beat the story mode. It took me hours and hours, but oh my goodness, it has got to be one of the most satisfying like feelings I've ever had in a video game, and no other racing game just does that to me. Like Mario Kart, yeah, like I get some excitement from some of those from time to time, and some of them I do think are masterclass, but I don't think any racing game for me will ever compete with F-Zero GX. Like the level of just adrenaline and dopamine that I feel playing this game, it looks so gorgeous for a GameCube title, and it's just 60 FPS. Like, it's just beautiful performance, beautiful. It literally looked like a next gen title. Like, it's just such an impossible game that was on the GameCube, and I loved every bit of it. Please, Nintendo, just bring it already. Like, I will throw my wallet at you if you bring this game back, or at least a similar game, like a new game that just builds upon this one. You have all like the garage building, all the characters you can choose from. They have their own lore and themes. All the racetracks are really fun. I love the aesthetic feature aesthetics. Like, this game is just a pure joy. It's definitely my favorite racing game of all time, and one of my favorite games of all time. It's just that good. But there is one game I did put above this one. But before that, I am going to quickly blitz through some honorable mentions, as you know, people usually do in these kind of ranking videos. So the first honorable mention is Ape Escape. The reason why I didn't include this game was because it's a replay. This one I actually have played through before. In the past, I played the original PS1 version and the PSP version growing up, so it's been many years since I have, so I kind of just randomly replay the PS1 version again, usually mainly because of retro achievements. Yeah, but to get those. But I just felt like it wouldn't be fair if I put this game on the list despite how much I love it. Like, I'd probably put Ape Escape like in the top 5 easily. But yeah, I can't because it's a replay and I want to give other games a chance. Same reason for Beautiful Joe. Beautiful Joe is a game that I replay a lot. Probably like once every like couple years or so, I would replay it a couple of times through, and it's my favorite Capcom game. So just from that alone, I would put it above DMC3, so it'd be like in the top 4 or even top 3. Like, I love this game to absolute death. It's so good. But yeah, it's a replay, so I can't really put it on there. Next one, it's because it's a DLC, and it's the Octo expansion. Now, like, back earlier in the year, I was trying to go through all the story content of Splatoon that I had missed, which is like the Octo expansion, the third games campaign, which I actually hadn't done yet, but I know, like, 2024 you still hadn't beaten Splatoon 3 campaign. But yeah, I did Octo expansion and Splatoon 3 campaign so I can ready myself for side order. But yeah, Octo expansion has got to be one of my favorite DLCs ever, man. Like, it's so good. Like, it delivered on all fronts. And I like it a lot more than Side Order. Side Order just didn't feel as, like, I think it's amazing, but I didn't feel like it reached the highs or replayability that Octo expansion did. Like, that really elevated Splatoon 2 for me so much more. And then the next honorable mention is Crash Bandicoot 3 Warped. So yeah, I had played through Crash Bandicoot, the first one, back in like 2023, and now I finally played 2 and 3 last year. And while I thought 2 was amazing, I thought that 3 was near peak fiction. Like, it was just like, it was so good. Like, but it just barely didn't make it. I still think that Pikmin 2 HD was better than it. And same thing with this next game, Super Mario Land 2. Can you imagine another platformer on here? Like, you see, I like platformers, okay? I like platformers. So yeah, you can basically say like 11th and 12th place, I guess, would have gone to Crash 3 and would go to Crash 3 and Mario Land 2. Like, yeah, I finally beat Mario Land 2. Phenomenal game. I think it's near perfect. I just think it's a bit too easy at times, and it just isn't as, it wasn't as peak as Super Mario World was. Same thing with Crash Bandicoot 3. I just really liked Mario World a whole lot more, and the Castlevania games a lot more as platformers. But yeah, now that those honorable mentions are out of the way, let's get to the number 1 spots. And at number 1, the game that managed to just slightly beat out F-Zero GX is Rayman Redemption. Rayman Redemption? What is that? Don't you just mean Rayman? No, I mean Rayman Redemption. This is pretty much a one-man team reimagining of the classic Rayman game, the very first one. I have the game on PS1 and I used to play from time to time, but funny enough, our disc was bugged and messed up, so we weren't able to ever get past the band world, like the that place with all the instruments. So that's all I ever played of it, but I really liked it. But apparently this reimagining happened, and it like completely switches up the way that the game is played. Like, it does some additions to the collectibles. You're able to, there's like a whole shop that you can do now to get more skins and things that even help you track the other things in the levels, which is really helpful. There's like new endings, new boss sequences. Like with Mr. Dark, it's just so much better here with new soundtracks. It does pretty much make all the original versions of Rayman obsolete. Like, this is the way to play Rayman. And now that I've finally played Rayman through this, I can wholeheartedly say it probably is now like my favorite platformer of all time. It's that good. If not all time, it's like top 5 easily. This is such a beautiful game. Like, it's so gorgeous to look at. The soundtrack is breathtaking. The levels are so colorful and imaginative with so many mechanics, unique elements, enemies. It's out of this world. Like, I can't believe this first game just took off this well. And I know people really like Rayman 2, probably more, but I don't know, this first game through Redemption is just it's beautiful. It's beautiful. I really recommend trying out Rayman Redemption. It's one of the greats for sure. Like, it's my game of the year in 2024 for sure. Now it took me a couple of years to beat. Like, I did start this a couple years prior to 2024, but man, finally beating it, like, it is one of those games you have to like get everything to get like the actual ending, which I know will probably turn off many people, and I'm sorry if you're one of those. I can totally understand that. It's like the one game where I actually made the exception to, because guess what? I liked replaying the levels because the levels are so good and the gameplay is so good. It's the one exception. Like, I was actually okay with going through the levels again to get everything. But yeah, really awesome game. Just really play it, please. But wait. I at least wanted to do a quick award ceremony for those companies and developers that managed to squeeze themselves into the top 10 not only once but numerous times. So these are the platforms that made the most appearances: Super Nintendo, PC, Switch, and GameCube. A 4-way tie with 2 games each on the top 10. Very good job. Then we have the console maker that appeared the most, Nintendo, with 6 games being in the top 10. And finally, the developer that appeared the most is again Nintendo. They developed 3 of those 6 games. And yeah, those were the top 10 games that I played in 2024, with some honorable mentions, of course, because I did want to give them some love. What do you guys think of the list? Were there some games that kind of surprised you? Do you agree with some of the listings? Would you make some changes to the rankings? What were your top games that you played last year, if you played much? And I really like any feedback. Again, this is like the second ranking video I make. I'm also going to do a top 10 worst games I played of 2024. I'll try to have that out as soon as possible. It is a bit easier to do that one because it is easier to determine the placements, because I didn't play as many bad games as I did good, so it's kind of easy to just pick them out. So yeah, I'd appreciate a like and a subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.